Hi friends, welcome back to Merstack and Adapt Your training session. So this session is the continuation of last session. So please go through that last session. I'll add that link below. In this session, what we are going to do is we are going to walk you through the complete tool with the help of small use case. So let's start with the login part. Once you log into the web console, you will see this page. And in this page, there are multiple tabs. Each tab has its own responsibility. So home tab shows you the what things are available. Okay. And if you have any simple data interface, right, like reading the Salesforce data and writing it to a file, you can go directly here, take the connector, Salesforce connector, okay, configure it, and then take the file from here and then configure it, and then you'll get auto generated process flow, which is like ready to deploy. That we can do it. So let's now not go with this use case. I'll go with the use case which covers all other aspects also. So let's go back to the develop tab. This is the area where developer comes frequently, where it design activities, create activities, edit, all that stuff. Okay, CRUD operations, we can say that, all performed by the developer on this area. Okay, so monitor tab, once your development is ready, you'll run it, right? So once you run it, you can see the process flow logs, event logs, and system logs from this tab. And there is an administrator tab. So name itself suggests that this tab is responsibilities administrating job. So like creating users, updating system properties, reloading configurations, all those activities will be done in this part. Okay. So today's focus is on develop tab. So I'll take small use case from where we are reading data from the database and write it to a file. So for that use case, developers can follow two approaches: top down and bottom up. In top down, it will directly go to the process designer. This is a process designer. Okay, so you'll get the blank canvas here. They can drag and drop activities from here, just like I did. Okay, to save the time, and then they will decide. Okay, I need one database source, and then I need a database target. File target. Okay, then they will go to the console and then start creating activities. But the experienced guy, he already aware of the things, so he can directly create activities here and then go back to the process designer. That is bottom up approach. Okay, so first activity, whenever starts the development, it creates a project. Okay, so once you create the project, you need to assign the group and the owner. So we have only one user right now, so by default this guy will be owner of all the activities. So once you create project, then you'll decide the what activities I need. Okay, if you are following the bottom approach, you need to create the activities. So first activity, I mean, after project, you'll be creating a process flow. So that is like a container where you link all those activities to do the use case job. So you can create a process flow, give a name, descriptions, and then select the logging level and the repository retention policy. So while development, right, you can use the debug and don't delete retention policy, so that you can debug your process flow while deployment. Otherwise, once your deployment is ready for the production, you just select this option, and then so this will only log the error scenarios, and on successful delete all those repository files. So we'll go with okay, let's not save this. We'll go with the debug mode. So once you create the process flow, so container is ready. Now you need to create the activities. So here you can see they have categorized the activities in proper way, so that is your integration development. So services section, all the activities which are required for source and target. And there is one more section where we can create the events and triggers basically. Okay. So we have created project process flow. Let's create these activities. So to connect database, we need database driver and database info. So let's create the database drivers already created. Let me show you the information. So I use the name, description, and then these two things are really important. two ways we can connect a database. Uh, uh, One is a JTTS and second one is the SQL JDBC. So that jar will decide how we are connecting to a database. So I chose SQL JDBC driver, and then this class will be used to connect database. So this SQL JDBC is the optimized and performance size is good. So we'll use this SQL JDBC connector. And here again, we need to assign project and set the this permission set. Okay. So based on your company standards, you can set the permission sets. Okay. Then go to the same section again quickly and then create the database info. So this database info will be used to connect. So here we need to pass the, all the database server information and credentials, test the connection. Okay. It's successful. You can see it here. We have used the same driver. Okay. So once this database connection is ready and connection is successful, you can assign the project and again the permission sets here. Okay. So once your database connection is ready, you can create a schema for the database. So because without schema, you won't be able to read the data from the database. So I have already created the schema. See here, I am using the same database info. So here you can go and select your table from which table you wanted to get the data. So I chose, you can go it here, get the tables. The default schema is DBO, get the tables. And then from here, you can select your required tables. I chose employed. And then you'll get this, you can generate this query because you want all the columns. Based on that, you'll get the query. And then you can select the primary key. This is my primary key. So, and once you say, so I have already created this, let's close it. So you can get the query like this and then primary key here. Okay. The same thing in the advanced properties, you can do assign the project and set the permission set. Once your schema is ready, you can create the source now. Now you can create the source. So we'll use the advanced database. You can use the database also, but in advanced database, you can write a complex queries like a union, if you want to use a where clause, you can use the database. Always I prefer to use the advanced database. Okay. Here you can select the database info schema, which was created in the previous step. And then if you see the edit queries, this is what we did, right? Here in the where clause, you can add the where clause and union clause. So once you are done, again, you need to do the same thing here, assign the project and set the permission set. So now your source is ready. Now what we want the target. So in the target, so to write the XML file, we don't need any schema because we have seen that the core data format is XML. So for that, we don't need any schema. But if you are writing any CSV file or Excel file or JSON file, then you need to create a schema first, and then you need to use that schema while writing the file. So we are simply writing data to a file in the XML format. So we'll create the file target without any schema. So this is what the path where file will be generated is the file name. To get the unique file name, I have added timestamp so that every time whenever file is generated, it will come up with the timestamp. Or you can create this option also, use this option, create unique file. So always you'll get to create the unique file name. And file extension I gave as XML. Again, the advanced properties are same. Assign the project and give the proper permission set. So now we are ready with the activities. We are ready with the process flow container. Now we'll go to the process flow design. Before that, I want somebody to trigger this flow. I can trigger manually also, but I want this process flow should get triggered periodically. So for that, there is a category here where we can create different kind of triggers, file trigger, calendar trigger. So I'll go with the calendar trigger here. So I have created one trigger where you can use the cron expressions. So if you see the cron expression, this is like every 12 o'clock every day. If you go to the help, you can see there. So I chose this one. So here you'll get a help. So every day 12 noon, this process will get triggered if I activate this tree, this calendar event. Okay. And then I want to attach. So again, the same advanced properties. I don't want to repeat it again. So here you can set the project and that. You can run this in a sequence by using this option. Okay. So let's not choose that right now. Then process flow is ready, event is ready. So we need to link these two guys together. So there is a activity which links this two entities together. That is the event registry. So we are registering event and process flow together. Then only this event will trigger this process flow. So you can see here, I chose the existing event, okay, which is we have created in a previous step, and then the process flow. These guys are linked together. Again, advent of property same and permission set. Okay, so now everything is ready. Event is ready, process flow is ready. Let's go to the process flow designer, and let me quickly tell you. So before writing a file, let's say you want to encrypt the file, right? So here is a section where you can create the data security and use it. So key manager will be used to create the data security, and the data security will be used to encrypt or decrypt the file. Okay. And one more section where it's really important. So let's say all the existing activities are not sufficient to perform your job. Then you can write a Java code, and that Java code you can add it as a custom plugin and get your job done. Okay. And there is a data transformation where from one let's say from CSV to XML you want to transfer, right? Then we can use a data mapping which takes the one form and it converts into another form. So that we'll see in the coming sessions. So that's what. And there is a web service option here. If you are consuming external services, we need to create a consumer. And if you're exposing your web service, we need to create a provider. And if you're securing your exposed service, then you can use a security policy. So all these options we'll see it in later sessions. So let's go to the process designer quickly. So here, so this is my blank activities. I said like get employee data. So I need to attach server entity. We call it server entity, whichever entity we have created in your UI. So you can see this is a source. Okay, I have connected source. And then this one, I'll connect file target here. Sorry, you can see the file target. So that's it. Let's save this. And our process flow is ready. This is a one entity which does the use case job. But let me spend some time here. So you can see this is a palette. From here, you can choose whatever activity you want. You can go to the repository view. Here you'll get, you can open the existing flows. You can use activities from the action section, where if you want to call, let's say if you want to call one more flow from this flow, you can use the call activity. And whatever activities we have created, right, you can see those activities here. So let me show you one. So this is what we have created, right? Source. Here you can drag and drop directly. So our process flow is ready. From here you can download it as a PDF. Okay, you can download it, the summary PDF here. So let me save it somewhere. Okay, let me save it here. Let's not wait for that. It's taking time, so that let's go to the web console and let's run this process flow and see. So as I said, we can run it in the two ways. We can directly go here and run the process flow. This is a manual run. Okay. Let's go to the process flow section. Here you can see just now we ran it 11:59. And there is one more way. As I said, we can go to the events, calendar event we have created for this guy, and then go to the calendar event and say trigger now. Okay. Since this is a deactivated mode, we can manually trigger this calendar event. So let's go to the monitor section and check the, see now there are 4 invocation. So let's check. Here you can see it was triggered by the calendar event, executed, how much time it took, and this is a transaction ID. We'll go back and see this guy. We triggered manually. You can see it here, and time, how much time it took, and this is a transaction ID, start time and end time. Okay, so there are few options here. You can see this is a diagnostic log. It will show diagnostic log. It will show exactly how much time the each activity took, from where it started. I mean the order of activity execution. So you can see that there was a advanced database source activity, right? So this is what the query was used to get the data in the backend, and then how much time it took. It clearly shows there are 3 records retrieved from the database, and then there is a file target. You can see it here, successfully connected to file, and then it's reading from source, input stream, closing. So this is diagnostic log. We can see it from this section, and then we can see the repository. Since we are running in debug mode, so this file, and we set it right, don't delete the files. So this file is the stream generated from the advanced database source. So this is the intermediate data which before writing to a file, this was stored as a repository file. So that's what, and this context information will have all the informations, like all the system variables um, will be generated as part of execution logging. I'll show you. Let me close this and I can show you. So there is section which shows that same XML in the better way, in the tabular format. So you can see that logging level, all those event context. Okay, it was manual. And if you see this one, it will show that this is a calendar, right? So there is a, I mean, based on your invocation, the information varies. Okay, the project, transaction ID, all that information. Okay, so from the monitor section we can see the logs. Okay, let's go to the database and see. Before that, we'll go to the folder and see whether file is getting generated or in the inbound folder or not. We can see that there are 2 files, 2 files, almost on the 1159. We can see that data. Yes, data generated, and for this also it will be the same. Yes. So invoke twice. So 2 files are there with a different timestamp. Okay, let's close this, and let's go to the database and see whether these activities whatever we generated, right? So this is the AU underscore transaction table where we can see the, I'll show you only one activity, other activities also stored. So here you can see that our process flow activity is created, and it stores the flow descriptor, right? So entire process flow XML is stored in this database. Okay, so this is how all those activities which are generated through UI will stored in this database, and logs will be stored in the logs database. Once your process flow is ready, if you think like this process flow is working as expected, then you can think of migrating to the next environment. There is a different process to migrate to the next environment that we'll discuss in coming sessions. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe the channel, hit the like button, and hit the bell icon also, so that you'll get notifications whenever I upload the new videos. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos.